Once upon a time in a village below the great Mount Tiyi, there lived a girl by the name Tatimala. She was very young when her mother passed away. As time goes on, her father struggled to keep up between his field's work and house chores. Therefore, in order to take care of Tatimala, her father remarried. However, the stepmother turns out to be a very wicked woman who lacks empathy. When in the presence of her husband, she would treat Tatimala very well, but whenever her husband is away from home, she would unleash her true nature to her and treated her very badly. Tatimala tried to tell her father about the cruelty of her stepmother towards her on several occasions, but her father wasn't convinced, hence, he turned a deaf ear. One fine day, the father decides to on a long journey beyond the village to trade goods for salt. Leaving his daughter under his wife's care for a couple days, he leaves the village without any hesitation, hoping her daughter will be well taken care of by his wife. Now the stepmother, taking advantage of her husband's absence, decided to get rid of Tatimala before her husband's return home. Before any villagers wakes up, Tatimala was forced to go fetch water early in the morning. Sometimes her stepmother would order her to go collect firewoods deep in the forest where creatures and spirits lurked. Tatimala was young and voiceless. Her silent cries echoes through the woods of Mount Tiyi. Next day, the stepmother called over Tatimala to grind the grains in a large grinding table. She quickly starts hitting Tatimala with the heavy pestle which was used to pound the grains, while yelling at her to keep up the pace. She then beat her to death and started crushing her corpse along with the grains until Tatimala's body became disfigured and mixed with the grains. After killing her, the stepmother took Tatimala's crushed body and dumped it into the river nearby the village. Couple days later, as the father was returning home, eager to meet his beloved daughter and wife, he sees a beautiful water lily blooming in the river on his way back. The father was so enchanted by its beauty that he decided to take it with him and give it to his beloved daughter back at home. However, upon returning home, the stepmother informed the husband that Tatimala had disappeared with no trace and had not been home for the last few days. The shocked father searched for his daughter everywhere, but couldn't find her. Heartbroken, he returned home and wept. That night, he went to sleep with a very heavy heart, missing his daughter. In his dream, the water lily he brought home suddenly turned into Tatimala and started singing. Translated as, "I died and was standing near the river when my father brought me home." After singing, Tatimala narrated the whole story to her father, how the stepmother treated her and brutally killed her and dumped her remains at the riverside in his absence. The next morning, the father woke up and sat up, recollecting his dreams, and came to sad realization that his daughter was no more and was murdered by his own wife, whom he married to take care of his daughter. He suddenly remembered how Tatimala had often warned him about the unusual behavior of his new wife, of which he showed no interest at all back then. He was furious, but it was too little too late. Her daughter is already gone, so even he wanted also, he could never bring her back to life again. Instead, it will bring even more chaos into his already disturbed life. So the father humbled down and decided to let live by leaving the consequences at the hands of Tiyi God to take its own further course of action. The moral of the story is based on human relationship and the bond of love between a father and a daughter. The father did love Tatimala, but he was not wise in choosing the path for his daughter, and as a result, his act of love invited a dead bringer and costed her beloved daughter's life. This story also shows how during our forefathers' days, many innocent children were mistreated by their step-parents and the hardships they went through. Parental insensitivity to a child's emotional needs and the destruction it brings is exemplified through this short tale of Tatimala.